So now it's kind of like, because I'm so messy, it's already too wet for me to do anything else with a paintbrush. So I'm just going to try to go ahead and see if I can do more if I switch over to palette knife. And you can use your palette knife either like this, or you can just, or like I'm using the, mostly I think I like to use the back. I lay it on with the back, and then maybe I lay it on with the front, and then I come back over it with this, using the back side of it. And you can just sort of wiggle it like the palette knife also if you want. So when I'm working this small, I have to have about, 3 or 4 paintings going at a time, because I guess I'm just not careful enough, but things get too wet and then I need to just go work on another one for a while. So maybe I can only work on each painting for an hour a day before I've gotten them too wet. And I do love palette knife. I mean, I love brushes too, but the thing I love about palette knife is you just can keep your colors so clean. Even when you're coming over a bunch of other paint, it's just somehow, it's like as your brush, the longer you're using your brush in a day, the more that brush gets just sort of a gross, scummy, yucky color down in the bottom of it that comes out into stuff that you're working on. I guess if you had 2 brushes, you could change brushes. I'll go back to my blue yuck pile and see what that'll do for me. Oh, I kind of like that. So, wow, the sail and the sky back there, the part of the sail that's in the more in the shadow, the sky is pretty dark back there. The shadow and the sky seem like they're almost the same value, from what I can tell by squinting at them. And of course, if you're sick of how much paint you have, you can just scrape it off too. Like if, and just wipe it on your palette. Like that. Okay. And I honestly, strangely, I feel like I don't really waste paint when I'm using a palette knife. My palette usually ends up scraped really clean. Like right now, I'm using up a lot of the colors I used in different parts of the painting. I'm just scraping them right up off the palette, off the middle of the palette. And I have never tried doing a palette knife painting with acrylics, but I have seen people that, I've seen paintings that are acrylics that were done with a palette knife. So, if you worked really quick and maybe only worked in a limited area at a time, so you could keep that, your paint wet. See, it's kind of nice, isn't it? Oops, it'd be nice if I changed my paper towel. I bought a little bit cheaper paper towels. I haven't bought Scott in a long time, and so I bought some Scott paper towels, and I have to say they're just not as good as the Bounty ones I had. So when they're gone, I'm in that I'm using more paper towels because my hand is like the hand that's holding it. By the time I wipe my brush off on it a few times, it's the paint and the water have soaked through. So I'm not very happy particularly with them. Well, just the part I'm working on with the palette knife I like so much better. I feel like I can get the color better. It's funny because I haven't been really working with palette knife much this year. I've sort of been in a brush mode. But I was feeling really embarrassed about how bad this was going, so. And I want to keep my water going horizontal and not like making it like my brush strokes are going around the object so much as I. That's a little tricky too. I think I just cut the boat out from under the guy. All right, so that boat's got to be a little darker. And then you can just clean up your drawing by scraping a little bit. Yeah, that boat is, it's all darker along the bottom edge. Let's see if I can work on that shadow a little more too. So one thing about people that were impressionistic painters is they used a lot of broken color. And that's another thing that's kind of nice about palette knife. It's kind of an easy way to get broken color, to add really different colors on top that you haven't blended together. So like if I want to add some purple, I'm just mix up a little purple here. It's the first time I've sort of mixed something up and then just kind of blob it on there. So yeah, it seems like I'm mostly picking it up with the back of my palette knife, and then I might add it on with the front or the back. But I'm kind of using it, my palette knife is kind of an extension of my finger, whichever way I do it, that way or that way. Okay, so we could use some green in there too. And this, I didn't mix the dryer into my white paint because this has been a day. I didn't get here at 9 o'clock like I thought I would. I don't know, I got here at like 1 o'clock. So it's going to take a long time to dry when you have this much paint on. And I have read that paint over half an inch thick is going to, or a quarter of an inch thick is going to crack for sure. So you probably want to keep your texture under a quarter of an inch. So in the ideal world here, I would have left myself enough time to go over this whole painting. With the palette knife. For a while there, I was painting, I would lay in my paintings with a brush. I almost always lay it in with a brush because it's much faster than a palette knife. And then when it kind of got to this point, like I did here so quickly, I got to this point where I couldn't work on it anymore. Then I would switch to the palette knife. And then the next thing I would do, and that just got me so much further along in the day because I was able to work longer on the painting. And then I would do this little trick where I would lay a piece of paper and press it down and get rid of some of that palette knife texture. So I would keep the color, but I would get rid of the palette knife texture. And then I would actually be able to come back and finish my paintings with a brush. And it would maybe knock a day off the time it usually took me to do a painting. Wow, I don't like that. Palette knife is really great for landscape because it just gives you a lot of great texture. And there's so much, texture out there in landscape. Okay. How this crappy boat. All right. Crappy sails. See if I can get them better. Oops. But see, it doesn't really matter. You just scrape it off. I kind of feel like there's some green in there, so I'm just going to try it, but I don't know if it's going to be bad. Well, I think that was okay, actually. Well, I think to do oil painting demonstrations, I might actually need to figure out a second camera again to film my palette. That might be useful. So I'm going to try to do that for next time. I tell you, it's really creepy when you're painting downstairs and you think you're alone in the house, but you keep hearing all these noises upstairs. I can't decide if I should go see if someone's upstairs, or if it's a cat, or just hope they never notice I'm downstairs if they're here. Yeah, that green, that worked pretty good, pretty well. Wow, I really wrecked that just then. I cannot stay in the lines here. Having a lot of trouble. I don't know how I'll ever get the mast in with this palette knife. Guess I might not be able to, I don't know. The one thing you can do is I've got, let's see, this has got to be up here maybe. I got the paint on the edge of my palette knife. I scraped it all up and then ran the edge of my palette knife through it. And then I'm just running the edge this way. And it's a really good way to make a pretty straight line, even if you're doing a painting with a brush. This is usually how I put in any of the rigging I'm going to do. At least that kind of gives me an idea about that thing. Okay, well, that's a start. I am pushing down pretty hard with my knife because otherwise I'll wobble. So I wonder if you could do it on a canvas, which this is not. This is paper taped to a board. So it's a rigid surface. All right, well, that seemed like a lot of work. But at least now I can sort of see the edges of the sail. All right. So I need another yellow sail at the top, another yellow spot at the top. Yeah, and I didn't have my my mast drawn in quite the right place, so now I'm having to extend the sails over to the mast. But you know what kind of tipped me off that I didn't quite have the mast in the right place was that I couldn't fit, and I'm still having a little trouble fitting all these different stripes in here. So part of me just wants to be done with that for a while. Go back to the water. Same thing here. I mean, I might have to redraw my boat some more, but I don't want that water to feel like it's going up and around the boat. I want it to just be flat behind the boats. And, you know, try not to let things change colors too abruptly behind something else. Like, I don't want the water to appear to have changed colors right at the edge of the sail. Okay, and I think when you're doing palette knife, you have to do everything. You can't leave some places not done. They don't look, to me, it doesn't look right if, like, I haven't done all of it in palette knife. So I need to, and I'd kind of like to actually try getting that darker back there. See if it could be darker. The land back behind the water. And I just want to tell you another mistake I made here was that I've got this tape on here, and I thought, oh, the tape, that'll be great. That's just going to be like, I won't have to worry about getting too close to the edge. But since I painted over the tape, look how close my boat is to the edge. So I think I should have made a mark on my tape just to remind me that I wasn't really composing all the way out there. And remember, just because something's there doesn't mean you have to put it in. Like there's a bunch of boats back there and stuff. Well, I'm not putting that stuff in. It's so confusing. How would I even, and I don't think it would add to my painting. So I'm not putting them in. It's okay to leave stuff out. Just because it's there is not a good enough reason to include it. Yeah, I think that's looking a little better, darker. I do want to try to keep my line here, the horizon line, straight. Where the land meets the water needs to be a straight line. Be nice if it was a straight line all the way across, but that's hard to do when you're painting on the side. I don't know, can't seem to get that guy too good. So just come back and put a little more light on the edge of the boat there. Oh, kind of like that, even though it's too much. Okay, I kind of like it, so I'm going to kind of leave it. Okay. Oh, gotta have a little guy on that back boat. All right, and you saw how I put the mast in, but I'm not gonna, just took forever, so I'm just gonna not do that at the moment. And really, I'm almost scraped up everything off my palette that was there before from working with the brush. Oh, God. Okay, well. All right, I'll just put I'll put that boom in and stuff, see if I can. Sometimes just like not one thing happens. right, well, I am out of time, so so I'm just going to stop, and I don't know what I'll do next, if anything. But it's going to take about 10 years for this painting to dry, so. So part 2 is probably all there is. Oh gosh, I could use a little blue over there though.